You're listening to All Country News.
So
Okay,
talk
awesome.
to me about growing up. You know what I mean? Was music a big thing in your house? I know for me, it was constantly Prince that was being played. So how I'm in country music, nobody will know. So talk to me about growing up and just being around music.
Yeah, I grew up, my mom was actually a singer in church. She sang in church for years. And so when I was growing up, there was gospel playing in the house. There was country music playing in the house a ton. And every day my mom would drive me to school, and Red Dirt Road was on the radio, and we listened to Rascal Flatts a lot and Montgomery Gentry. And I just remember loving music as a ton. And then she would sing in the car. I would pick up that, and that just started becoming something I would do. I would put the boombox on, and I never took singing lessons. I just put on a CD and try to copy what they were doing. And I fell in love with it. I started doing talent shows in elementary school, like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And people just seemed to like what I was doing. And I was thrilled by it. I started chasing theater and acting and producing movies for a while. And that was a big passion that I had. And then picked up guitar again in high school, started writing songs. I made a CD my senior year, and I sold it at school, and I made a couple $100, and I was like,
oh my God,
maybe I can do this. So started playing open mics, and that led to coffee houses and little restaurants that would have me for an hour, and I would just like charge them $50 to play on the gig or whatever. And growing up, just music was just such a love and around me all the time. It always has been and always will be. And it's thankful for my mom teaching me how to sing, and all those, people in my school that believed in me that got me to where I am now. So
I love it. Do you still have that CD? Like, do you have a copy of it?
I do. I have there's a few copies that I still have that I'm like, I got to hold on to these because I know one day maybe it might be worth something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I know you have to
just to have it.
I always giggle because, people always ask me, like, when did you start loving country music? And at my bridal shower, my mom handed me a notebook of like everything she'd ever kept notes about, like me from the day I was born to when I went off to college. And she hasn't dated the day I found the band Little Texas. And so I always love hearing, I know, I'm like, so I have a finite date. I always love hearing, like how people kind of found country music. And for you, clearly it was very early on. Me, I found it on my own. I still don't know how it happened. But do you remember the first song that you learned how to play on guitar?
I do. It was Fire and Rain by James Taylor. That was yeah.
And why that song?
Like, I started listening a lot to Zac Brown Band, and Zac Brown Band was no doubt the reason that I started playing music. They I should have I kind of let this out that growing up, but my parents bought me a guitar, and it sat in the corner of my room for 3 years. I never touched it. And then I started listening to Zac Brown Band, saw him playing acoustic guitar, and thought that looks really fun, and I want to do that. So I bought an acoustic, got lessons then. And at the time I started listening to like a lot of that singer-songwriter, Joni Mitchell, James Taylor, Carole King, and Fire and Rain was one of these songs that I had bugged in my ear. And I was like, this sounds so cool. I want to learn how to play it. And I brought it to my guitar teacher, and he's like, okay, let's do this. And that we're starting off here. Cool. So we learned it. And to this day, I cover it all the time. And I always tell the story. It's the first song I ever learned on guitar.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I've always been so jealous of people that are able to kind of put their thought into song. I mean, I loved creative writing in high school. It was one of my favorite classes, but like, I can't sing. So I don't ever think that 2 and 2 ever got put together.
Not even in the shower, in the car, like no singing at all for you?
I can sing, but nobody wants to listen.
I'll listen. I'll listen.
Oh my God. Okay. I got to tell you this story then, because it's hysterical. Please. So I was a huge musical theater kid growing up. Like, I loved it, but I couldn't sing. And I came from a really talented high school. So I always designed the costumes and the sets and did that. But the choir director that did the musicals was like, Bobby, you have to come do women's a cappella. All your friends are in it. I think you'd be really great. Yeah. So finally I was like, fine. But I went in going to prove them wrong. So we go in, he hands us sheet music. I feel like I'm reading Mandarin. And he's like, okay, girls, why don't you warm up? So I sing along. He's like, girls, you're sounding a little rusty. So I lip synced. He goes, oh, much better. And I go, I can't sing. So
from that day, you knew it was like, as long as I just
that day, I even remember our really close friend at church that worked with kids, did private lessons for a lot of the kids I grew up with that did musical theater, and then was the choir director at our church. Even after a couple of lessons, was like, Bobby, like maybe this is
Just don't quit your day job. Just keep on the path that you're on.
which is funny because my grandma is a beautiful singer. All of my aunts, they created their own really pretty successful Irish band up in
No
Michigan.
kidding.
So like,
That's cool.
I don't know. Anywho, back to songwriting. Why did you write your first song?
Good question. I think I wrote my first song in junior high. My uncle had passed away, and I remember I'm pretty sure that I ripped off a Rascal Flatts melody. I'm pretty
Hey,
sure like
totally,
the first song
totally
was a
acceptable.
complete rip off of somebody else's tune. But I remember just writing a song about his life and how hard he worked and, made a legacy for his family. And legacy and that theme very much has always kind of carried with me throughout my entire career, throughout just like writing for what you live for, what you die for, and kind of the life you want to leave behind. But I remember writing that first song and just having it in a notepad. I do still have that. I did find that recently. And it kind of led to just me experimenting with, different rhyme schemes, or I didn't really study it all that much. I just was like kind of, trying to see what other people did and applying myself to that in a way. And high school came along. I started writing a lot of more, songs here and there. And just a couple of my friends were like, dude, that's great. I love that guitar riff you're doing. Or I like this chorus and it's catchy. And I was like, those little things just kept encouraging me to keep going. And then that led to that first CD that I sold in my senior year.
Oh my gosh. Did you have like some funky cover art? What was your cover art for the CD?
I had, so funny enough, the only tattoo I have is this
Oh, no way.
Reap What You Sow. And the Reap What You Sow was the name of that first record. And the last song on the record was an acoustic tune called The Raven. And it's funny because like I just saw some buddies from high school. They still talk about that song. They love that tune. And the front cover was a raven. I had a buddy from church that I knew did graphic design.
Yeah.
He like made this thing for me, and I was like, that's it. And I love it. I'm trying to see if I can find it. That actually would be hilarious if I had
That's gonna be really funny. I'm like living for this. I know. I just
I
found
need to
all of,
track that down, but
yeah, I found my old, where is it? I think I don't know. See, now
do you have it somewhere?
hold on, I got something somewhere. I don't know. We are redoing our whole house. We just moved into a newish house. So my
Okay, congratulations to you.
this together for me. Oh my God. Finding a house in Chicago is a freaking nightmare. But I was
Oh,
looking for my mom gave me my old CD disc thing. And I have like all of these super old
With the plastic sleeves and
Yep. And apparently I have Taylor Swift's autograph that I completely forgot I still had.
well, that's cool.
I know.
That's
So
like early on an autograph.
I know, right? So you find yourself in Nashville now.
Yes.
I mean, you're doing the Broadway thing. What
Mhm.
was the initial reason that you felt like you had to be in Nashville? I know, like for me, I'd love to be in Nashville, but I'm actually Chicago based and
Yeah.
I haven't like reached that point where I'm like, I have to be there full time.
Yeah.
What was that moment for you that you just knew you had to be in Nashville?
Ever since I was in high school and looking at, being a country artist, Nashville was always a place that I visited and I was intrigued by and wanted to visit. And I always said I wanted to live there, but I didn't know exactly what that looked like. And then I played in Arizona full time for, 5-6 years, making my full-time living, paying the bills. And my band and I had worked up a way. I had a great band back home, and we worked up a way that like we became we got the good gigs in town, and I had felt really successful in Arizona, and I, for some reason, just was like, I want to keep going, and I don't know what that next level is, and I was trying to be creative and feel some competition that I just didn't feel like I had, and I wanted to be challenged. I wanted to be in a place where, you know what, I'm knocked off my pedestal and there's a bunch of people around me that are writing every single day, that are working hard every single day. And I want to be around that because that's what I know is going to push me to get to that place that I want to be. And in the near 2 years that I've lived in Nashville, I've 100% found that. I love the fact that some of my best friends in this town are kicking ass and doing really great job, getting what they want, writing the songs they want, starting to get cuts. And it's like being around that community of people is my favorite part of this town. And like Nashville has always felt like a massive university to me.
Yes.
And I didn't go to college. I did 1 year of community college and I dropped out because I was playing shows and I was like, I'm gonna go work. But I get that university feel in Nashville, like being around songwriters, musicians, producers, all that. So
It's so funny. I've never heard somebody put it that way, but now that you say that, I'm like, oh my God, it does feel like
Yeah.
one big town like that.
Everybody just wants to keep getting better and keep, improving and collaborating with one another. And I love that part of Nashville. So I think once I was missing that in Arizona, that was the moment. Like, let's get to Nashville. And then the doors just opened up, and my wife and we moved out here, and we've planted. So
I love that. I love that you bring up your wife, because that was my next question. It was
perfect.
like, you know,
Beautiful segue.
how does she support you? I feel like that is such a tough, being a wife is hard enough. I know firsthand. It's very, very hard. My husband's a fireman, a Chicago fireman, and it's
Thank you for
hard.
what your husband does. That's not easy.
Very hard.
job.
Yes. He's gone. He's on a 48-hour, so I get to do whatever I want. But how do you feel that she supports you best? Like, what's your favorite part about having just a partner in this?
Well, funny story. So we actually met. We were working together for a while. She was my manager back home for.
Oh no!
So she's my wife's a talent buyer. So she's producing, concerts across the country. And when I meet her in Arizona, sure enough, her dad was my Little League baseball coach way back in the day. Like, it's just small worlds coming together, sort of thing, right? So we start working together, and she just starts helping me out, like, trying to kind of steer me along more the industry side of things. And, if I needed a contract done, I'd go to Ashland. And then sure enough, COVID happened, and all my shows got locked down. Her and I were working together almost every single day, like trying to figure out, hey, what social media should we do? What live streams to like keep the business rolling? And over that time, we just fell in love with each other. And then May of 2021, I proposed. And then July of 21, we moved out to Nashville. So like, it was
Oh my God.
bang, 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 back and forth. A lot of crazy things happened within a span of 2 years. It's pretty wild.
Oh my gosh. No, I love that. So, I mean, I've been on Broadway. It is literally probably the craziest place I've ever seen. I think it rivals Las Vegas at this
100%.
point. But I have a feeling there's a lot of support for all of your Broadway players, but I also feel like there's probably a lot of competition. Like, you really have to really step up your game to keep your spot. So talk to me about some of the struggles of playing on Broadway.
Man, I think even playing cover gigs my entire life, Broadway has always just been another beast. And it's you are playing in a heavy tourist town where people are coming in and they're coming in to expect the best. And that puts a little more pressure, I guess, compared to what I knew before of like, you can't phone this in. It's not, sometimes there were gigs back home where like, if I was a little tired or if I'm a little beat down, like I can get through this. Like Broadway, I feel like there's eyes on you from the moment you step on stage, the moment you get off. And it's like, hey, we want to see what this guy's got. And in a way, that's the best part of it, because it challenges yourself in a way of like, let's see what I can really put on a show for these people. And you look back at your band. I love playing with my band, and we'll have moments where everything just seems to come together. We get pushed to a level that I think sometimes you just miss on an everyday cover gig, where Broadway really brings that out. You're challenged by requests that you've never played before. But guess what? Like, if someone puts down a $50 bill, says, hey, can you play this song? It's like, okay, I call it Nashville band practice. The band and I will really sit there listening to the song real quick. Like, okay, we think we got it. And then it's like, wow, come on, let's try it out. And there's been a lot of moments where it's turned out amazing. So,
oh my gosh,
there's a different struggle with Broadway, and there's a lot of, tips and that whole dynamic and whatever. But at the end of the day, it's really fun. It's a very fun environment that will make you very tired, but it's a fun environment.
I love it. I love it. So literally on my questions here, I knew I wouldn't have to do a lot of questions because you're
asking great questions.
So well, easy.
Questions.
I'm like, this is going to be great. What is the weirdest request you've got? It's funny. So my girlfriends that I was with, the first time we all met, it was called Broadway Bingo. And for every time we heard one of the songs on our bingo card, we'd
knock it off.
So it was like Morgan Wallen or Wagon Wheel or whatever. But what was the weirdest song that you've been asked to play? Or maybe have you turned down a song? You're like, nah, like this, I can't do this. Every
now and then someone requests like some 90s rap. And I'm like, man, as much as I'd love to try and get this song, that you don't want to see me attempt this song right now. Like, that's not going to be great.
You are in the wrong town, my friend.
I'm like, man, I would love to, but I can't do No Diggity. I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
But what I'm trying to think, there's been some good ones. We actually did pull off some Hannah Montana one time. We got Best of Both Worlds. Get the best of both worlds. Someone I think wanted to hear that. And I looked at the band and I was like, do you want to try it? And we pulled it up real fast and pulled it off. So we'll get some funny stuff like that. But you definitely get a lot of Morgan Wallen, a lot of Alan Jackson, and George Strait, Chris Stapleton, and I'm just like, you know what,
Eric Church.
Eric, man, you guys hit gold on that one. I love that. You guys like play whatever Eric Church song you want. And I was like, all of them.
Yeah, my girlfriend that I was with, she is a huge Eric Church fan, and she's single, and she has a picture of Eric Church like right in her hallway when you move in, and she says if she brings guys home and they don't know who he is, they can't date.
I do. That's a great test, though. That's a very we can't hang unless you know who we're talking about here.
I mean, my husband and I met at an Eli Young Band concert, so it's like.
Yeah, there's those artists that just they're part of your soul. They come with you in your package deal.
I know. I tried to get him to come to our wedding. That was way out of my dad's budget. But
yeah, we looked at bringing Brett Eldredge to ours because that was our first dance song. Was a Brett Eldredge song, and I was like, is there any way that we could do it? And we just couldn't make it happen.
Brett's a Chicago boy, but he doesn't do an awful lot.
No, we
doesn't really
saw
do a lot. So
I liked his new record. We went and saw him at the Ryman, and he played his Christmas show. And I saw the Christmas show, and I'm a big Sinatra fan. I love that big croon, big band feel, and when he's in that element, he just completely knocks it out of the park.
Yeah, we got to see him here in Chicago at the Chicago Theater do it, and I think my mouth just hung open.
So good. He's one of my favorite voices in country music to this day.
Same. So let's talk about your single, Look at You. I think it's so fun, and I love your original music. Do you feel that there is, I only got to see you on Broadway, and I assume you have other gigs outside of Broadway, but do you ever feel like it's being a Broadway performer or being just a performer in Nashville, it's really hard to work in some of your singles, like your originals?
I think sometimes it's funny because I in a way feel like you kind of have, especially when you guys saw me at that little solo gig I'm playing on a Wednesday night, I have the freedom to kind of play whatever I want to play. And I don't think that, I'll sometimes start off the night with an original or sneak one in, or if someone, like yourself, requests to, hey, play your original song, which that will happen. But then also sometimes I just get caught up in constantly looking at the crowd because I'm trying to give the best show possible, and I want to get them singing along, and I want to get them dancing. So I think sometimes throwing in, hey, here's this song that you don't know, can be sometimes a difficult transition to make. And I think as an entertainer on Broadway, you don't want to reach for that sometimes. But then there's I kind of go, well, I'm just in my head. I should just go. Yeah, you came to see musician. Here's what I do. Here's my original music. So I'm trying to get better at kind of allowing myself no, play your original song. Go for it.
Yeah, I would highly recommend, because I feel like people like me who are sluts for good country music and good writing. For me, I want to hear, but again, I'm not everybody, but I want to chat with you about the new single. I love it. My husband and I had a little date night last night, drinking some wine, and I was getting ready for this today, and we played it. He's like, this is really good. I'm like, I'm interviewing him tomorrow.
Thank you. That's great.
Chat with me about the songwriting and kind of the creative process for the new single.
Yeah, I wrote that song with a good buddy of mine, Richard Rendy. We wrote it probably back in 2016, 17. Actually, and we wrote it on a beach in Malibu, and we originally had this idea of kind of a Chris Stapleton-y vibe of the soulful sort of the idea was kind of the same. We had the chorus at the time, and then we revisited the song actually kind of during the pandemic, and I had this new guitar riff that I was working with, which ended up kind of becoming the main progression for Look at You. And I was like, maybe we can try and work around it, apply it to this new melody, and it just seamlessly fit in. I put it out. I was doing these live streams at the time on Facebook. That was kind of how I was keeping the music going. And I played that, and fans loved it. So I got to Nashville, and we recorded a few songs. And that was one of the first tunes we recorded was Look at You. And then I just came about where it's obviously the wedding year and thinking about my wife and everything that was going on. I was like, it just felt the right moment to release that song. And I'm really happy we did. I love that tune and love playing it out live.
I love it. I'm always super cheesy about artists that you're either going to get married pretty soon here or have just gotten married. Did you write any of the music for the wedding?
I did not. I was I wasn't sure if I wanted
It's
to cross that
stressful
line.
enough. Yeah.
And then sure enough, all of like her family and friends were at the wedding. Like, what is Jacob gonna sing? And I'm like, do I have to, guys? So I think I ended up doing a Kane Brown tune that was like a song of ours. They put that on, the DJ did, and I sang a little bit. So they got a taste. But I was like, man, I'm not working tonight, guys.
I love it. I know. I'm like, it's stressful enough, but I had to ask. I'm always
No, absolutely.
So to wrap things up here, what goals do you have for yourself for 2023? I can't even believe it's March. Like
Yeah.
what?
It's flying by. It's flying by. This year has been already kind of a great start to kind of start. I want to go out and play the West Coast a ton. Now being planted in Nashville, I want to go play North Carolina and go play Georgia and Kentucky and start just getting able to play for fans in places that I haven't been yet. So I'm trying to work on getting the road this year. My goal is to release a few tunes. I think I got one coming out in April that I've been teasing a little bit. So we don't have an official release date yet, but fans can for sure expect a song, probably one or two this summer, and then hopefully one in the fall as well. So I'm trying to get some more releases out and give people some more original music that they can cling on to and start listening at the social. So
Awesome. Well, you know to hit me up with those releases. We will take care of
Appreciate
you.
you.
And
Thank
if you have any shows next week, I will be in town all week for Country
Great.
Radio Seminar. So shoot me a message.
Yeah.
The team and I would love to come out and see
I'll
you.
be playing. I'll be playing.
So I know I need some more of those Brussels sprouts at the 12:30 club. Those were
They're the
like
best.
crack.
Everything
like
on that
crack.
menu is perfect, but the Brussels are to die for. And then the pastrami sandwich,
So
10 out
good.
of 10.
I know. I love it. Well, thank you so much. We're super excited. Like I said, let's see. This will probably come out. Let me look at the calendar just so you have an idea.
Again,
So this
thank
will
you
be
again
on.
for asking.
Oh my
It's
God,
like
you're so welcome. So yeah,
honored.
all of this will be out Friday the 24th. I will
Cool.
email you all of our links. Feel free to share what you want.
Great.
And then once you have a finite date on that April release, shoot me an email
Will do.
and I would love to include you in our new music roundup.
You're awesome. Yeah, we're getting some of the final details,
Great.
just like getting some like the album art done and whatever. Once we
Love
get that, we'll have the release date. I'll send it your way. And
It should be the Raven. I think you should bring the Raven back.
I think I got to bring the Raven back. I apparently one of my high school buddies, they're like, when's it coming back? I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe it's you like riding on a Raven now.
That's an album cover. That's perfect.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. And hopefully
thank you,
we'll see
Bobby.
you next week.
Yes, absolutely. I'll text you the dates of when I'm playing.
Text
'cause
me
I'll
the
be out.
dates. We are around all week and I don't plan on sleeping at all next week. So
Great. Me neither.
awesome. We'll see
Bobby.
you soon.
Thank you.
talk to
Have a
soon.
great day.
Bye-bye. Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
See ya.
You're listening to